Welcome, Tribe, to the Cognitive Rampage podcast. I'm your host, Adam Lowery, as usual. I am overly excited today about my guest, Lee Camp. He's an activist, comedian activist, really, writer, movement maker, change maker. I just love listening to him. He's the host of Redacted Tonight on YouTube and the host of A Moment of Clarity. It's a podcast you can get on iTunes and everywhere else. He has really changed the way people take in the news, at least the way I have taken in the news. He chooses no sides, comes direct. He is uncanny in his comedy and his insight. I love listening to Lee Camp every Friday night at 8 on Redacted Tonight and his podcast, Moment of Clarity. But it's an honor to have Lee Camp on the Cognitive Rampage podcast today. There's the man himself. The man himself, the man of the hour, Lee Camp.
Hey guys, how you doing?
How you doing, brother?
All right.
Thank you so much for taking time out. I know your busy day to chat with me, man.
No problem. Sorry for the background, but I'm hiding in one of the smaller studios.
I'm taking it you technically live there.
Just about.
Yeah, some of the pictures I see on Instagram with the oatmeal and the debate.
What? John's oatmeal?
Yeah, in the debate there, it seems like it's a 24-hour gig there.
Yeah, especially me and John F. O'Donnell. John works late into the night. I'm often here till 10 or 11. So yeah, we're kind of understaffed, but we're proud of the fact that we're able to accomplish a show like this with so few people.
Man, I love it. When I found it, as you could probably tell, as most of my fans or people watching me or listening could tell, when I found you, I went nuts. I'm like a reposter, retweeter guy, like crazy, of kind of the whole movement thing you're on. You know, it's inspiring, man.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, it really is, man. I'm trying to stay focused on what I wanted to chat with you about, but that NBC report that came out trying to prove that addiction is a brain disease has got me pretty rampaged up today, specifically.
The one, yeah, I largely agree with you. The one positive of it is I do hate how people want to just put it off as a moral thing and say that anybody with an addiction is just, an immoral person or a really flawed person, as if we're all not flawed in our own various ways. And a lot of people with addiction have a lot of issues that they've had to deal with and battle with in their life. And I don't think that they should be judged like, if they just had the willpower, if they just cared. I mean, that might be true for a couple of people. It might be true for some, but a lot of people, it's not that easy. And so I think the one positive could be that people stop acting like, oh, well, if they just, because anyone with a disease, you don't say, oh God, if that person just wanted it, they would cure their cancer,
Right. Yeah. Just stop taking the cancer. Yeah, I agree with you, man. Too many times those moral influences are even pushed to what addiction really is. Dr. Carl Hart, speaks about that too, that, that it becomes this moral judgment of what addiction really is. And they cast it down as if there's some weak personal choice in what it is they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. When I was working in those, clinics from the federal government, I was working in rehab facilities there. That was the push. The push was only the 12-step program. It was believe in a higher power, declare yourself powerless. You have personal defects that are fighting against you. And this was it, man. It's the only help they were offering people.
Yeah, I got to tell you, most of what I know about the 12-step program, I learned from Doug Stanhope's bit about him. And his bits about it are pretty fucking hilarious. He's like, well, well, what is the cure? What we help people? Well, how do you help people? And finally, they're like, oh, God, it's God. This is a really difficult disease, and you're just prescribing God.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, and the fact it's also government-funded facilities. So you got spiritual, religious-based practices as the only offered help in a government-funded facility.
Yeah, that's what they call. Can we curse on here?
Yeah, like a motherfucker.
All right, that's what they call fucked up then.
Yeah, man. So you're right. It's glad that they're putting it out there, but I saw the effect it had when they told patients directly, hey, you just have a disease. It's not your fault. None of it's your fault. It's the fact you have it's not all the trauma you've been through, the poverty you've lived in, the trauma, abuse, and experience you had in your childhood life, etc. It's none of that. It's you're just weak and powerless.
Yeah, I think you got to walk down the middle where it's yes, some of it is choices people make, and some of it is something deeper.
Yeah, that rat park experiment is something I always lean back toward. When they took the rats and put them in that massive Disney World park, if you will, and 98% of the rats basically avoided the cocaine, or the ones that did use the cocaine eventually came off of it, and they joined the social Disney World of rats, if you will, and totally put aside just by changing the social environment, behavioral structure, that old experiment about the rat dying of dehydration in a cage of cocaine puts all that shit to bed.
Yeah, well, I did hear one interesting thing on, I don't remember some NPR program, but it was about a drug, and I guess there were lawsuits about this, but it was a drug that kind of, in the small print would say one of the side effects, it was a drug for something else. One of the side effects could be gambling addiction. And this woman, never thought that this prescription she's on could cause that. But so she went gambling a little. She's an older woman. She had a retirement. She'd, all this money saved up to live on retirement, and slowly but surely became so addicted to gambling that she lost everything, lost her, maybe her husband left her, lost her house and everything. And then eventually they find out that this drug she's on is basically, cutting the wire that would have stopped her mental processes from just falling into gambling addiction, which tells you a lot about how the brain is wired and how these things, just that a drug can cause that is pretty crazy.
Yeah, man, it's a roll of the dice with those psychopharmaceutical drugs, man. I mean, they're really cocktailing the whole thing, man. It gets wild when you really see what they're doing, man.
Yeah, it just some prescription drugs can help people if they're done right and if it's tested right and all that shit, and a lot of them don't. Yeah,
man. I don't want to take all the time talking about drugs, but not that I have anything against them either. But I really wanted to kind of climb in your head for a half an hour if I could before you leave, man. And what are some of the stories that brought you to this point of your life at being, the activist, the comedian? You're really a change maker, man. What are some of the most influential stories that brought you here?
Stories meaning topics, issues?
No, things that happened in your life, things
yeah. I mean, I don't know quite why I guess some people care enough to be an activist and some people don't. And I don't really know what it is that drove me there. I mean, obviously some of it's empathy. I think some people have a stronger sense of empathy and some people have a lesser sense of empathy. Empathy is on a sliding scale, and some people see a guy kick a dog and don't give a shit, and some people want to save the dog. So it's kind of weird like that. But in terms of the other stuff, I wanted to be a comedian since I was little, or I wanted to be a comedy writer since I was little. And then I started performing at 17, 18 and performed in college and got on stage as much as I could and kept growing. But my stuff wasn't political back then. It was observational, as they say, Seinfeld style stuff. Have you ever noticed stuff? And I still think there are some good comedians doing that kind of stuff, but I felt like I kind of grew out of it, and I got to be in my mid-20s and was becoming more of an activist even off the stage, and then just wanted to bring it into my stand-up because I just felt like there's very few professions where you get to have a voice, where you get to be on a stage and talk to people, and I felt like if I was going to do it, I wanted to say something at least somewhat important. So it kind of grew from there. And, you know, these things feed off each other. So my activism fed off my comedy, and my comedy fed off my activism. And then I'm meeting more activists and people I really respect and impressed by. And, you know, so that feeds on itself. And you know, you start reading some of the greatest thinkers of our time, and you start learning a lot, and you got to want to do that. I mean, I'm lucky that I have a profession where I can go read a book by, you know, Noam Chomsky or Jeremy Scahill or who have you, and it's useful in my career. Whereas for some people that, you know, unfortunately have to work at a bank to make ends meet or whatever, work at the fast food place, it's tough to want to sit down and read some of this shit. But once you start reading it, you're learning and you're growing, and it all snowballs.
Oh man, I love it. I'm a believer that, you know, when we seek competence out like that through interest that we naturally feel, that it can grow and have this spark into a passion, you know, and you can feed that passion every day with more competence.
Absolutely. You got to feed it. You got to keep growing. I think, you know, pride and ignorance is one of the most horrible cancers we have in this society. It's like, you know, it's one thing to be dumb and really be like, not proud of it, you know, like, I just, yeah, I haven't, you know, had the time in my life, unfortunately, to get the education I need to educate myself. But the pride in that, and, you know, the fucking Jersey Shore, and I mean the TV show, not the actual Jersey Shore, but the Jersey Shore style people in this society that are just super proud of being morons. That's the type of shit that'll drive you nuts.
Oh, it does, man. And the social media place is almost like a haven to read those things. Sometimes it's hard to even scale through, you know, some of the posts and things you see people reading.
Yeah, there's a lot of trolls out there. Although I talked about in the show, for your listeners who don't know, my TV show is called Redacted Tonight. We have a new episode coming out tonight, and I talk in the show tonight about how obviously there's a lot of idiots on social media, but without that social media, we wouldn't be getting the informed, enlightened audience that is growing in this country. I mean, I talk a little bit about Indigenous Peoples Day and how a lot of people are calling it that rather than Columbus Day, and I think that's because, you know, most people now know that you know, Columbus, well, didn't make the discoveries that we all used to give him credit for, but on top of that, killed a lot of people. And these are his own journals where he's writing home talking about how he can massacre people and enslave them, and that's in his own handwriting. That's not some scientist looking at bone fragments. So I think people learn that, and slowly it's like, oh, maybe Columbus Day isn't the best idea. But, you know, how did we go for whatever? I don't know when we started celebrating Columbus Day, but 100 years or whatever. How did we go that long? And all of a sudden now there seems to be a movement to stop doing that. Well, it's because we, in a lot of ways, are becoming more informed than we've ever been before. You can't, you know, it used to be before the internet, someone could say, oh, Columbus said he killed people. And you're like, I don't believe that. And you'd never see anything that said otherwise. But now you can fucking Google it right now and read Columbus's journal and see the passages saying he enslaved and killed people.
Oh, and that's that competence, man. I love it. I mean, it's the fact that you and I can talk like this, you know, that you can spread that message. I mean, when you did that Columbus thing, it hit home for me. I'm 50% Croatan, Native American.
Oh, right.
Virginia tribe. Yes, I actually used a picture that you had used that day on Instagram, but that really hits home, and you speak to that competence that's allowed to spread so quickly. And I mean, and you're part of that, man. I mean, I call people like you competence feeders. And I mean, you're where I get my competence. You know, I encourage people to share the competence. And you're right. I think people do gotta post the dumb shit because it makes the conversation, right?
I don't know if they have to post it, but you know, it's going to be out there, and you kind of got to ignore the trolls unless they sound like they know what they're talking about, and then maybe they're not a troll, maybe they're just someone with a good point, and you got to let some of that shit in too. But yeah, and you know, of course, it's a sad thing. It's a sad statement on our humanity that people, when they're online, are willing to treat each other like shit, but the moment you put them in a room together, they're generally not, you know, calling them fucking slut bags or whatever they write on people's Twitter accounts.
Motherfuckers get creative.
Yeah, so I think we have to, in that way, we have to evolve into, hey, let's behave online pretty much the same way we behave if people were in the room, and that has to do with evolution. You know, we evolved over all these years to deal with people one-on-one, and now we have this separation where it's online and it's distant, and you just see a name next to a avatar, and it, you know, what the fuck do I care if that avatar gets their feelings hurt or whatever? So you know, hopefully we'll slowly evolve to have some empathy for people that you're not standing next to.
I agree. I love that empathy
line. The same, and this goes for other technologies such as drone bombing. It's like if someone's dying next to you, you don't care what fucking color their skin color is. You usually, pretty much everyone's going to try and help them. Just about everybody on this planet would try and help someone dying next to them. But meanwhile, everybody's like, yeah, go ahead, drone bomb all day long. We don't care if they're hitting innocent civilians. We don't care. You know, there's new papers were just leaked yesterday by The Intercept showing basically that these drone bombs, they kill a lot, like tons of innocent civilians, but the military just pretends that anyone anywhere near someone who might be a terrorist must also be a terrorist or an enemy combatant. So, you know, you're talking about a fucking dude. Let's say for the sake of argument, let's say he is some kind of serial murderer, some horrible person. This drone bomb goes down on him, blows up a store or a wedding party or whatever the fuck, and then they report it as enemy combatants. No, it was a family, and if those people were next to you, you wouldn't behave this way. So
it's like they remove the humanity out of what's actually happening.
Oh, they absolutely do, and actually, also one in these leaked documents, which I recommend people check out at The Intercept. Speaking of removing the humanity, this whistleblower said that they decide where they're getting. Later in the process of deciding they want to bomb someone, they want to assassinate someone with a drone, looking at the intelligence, they stop using a name and they start using a number or maybe a code name or something. And this whistleblower says that's basically designed to take away the guy's humanity because they're about to put a kill order out on this guy and they don't want him to have a name.
Man, same way with the prison number, right? You get a prison number, you lose the name, and you disappear.
Right. It was patented during the Holocaust.
Oh, sad. You know, speaking of those issues, I wanted to ask you, I mean, you cover so many topics on Redacted Tonight and A Moment of Clarity, your podcast. I mean, there's tons of them. Are there, you know, I read an article, a great article they did about you and how you helped a man off the death row. And I know that being so, and so many stories you cover, are there any one or two stories that you focus on outside of Redacted Tonight, kind of in your activism, or any one or two stories that really push you to keep going with Redacted and the things you're doing?
Well, yeah, I mean, we do try and cover a lot. Just real quick about that, about the death penalty. I have focused a lot on the death penalty as much as I can, because I feel like that's such a small, visceral issue. It's such an easy issue because it's not really a large. I cover a lot of large, dense issues, and that one's not one of them. It's just straight up. It's insane for us to be murdering people. Several of them, they estimate roughly 4% of them are innocent, and it's a horrible, racist, antiquated system that we have. But that guy you're referring to, I was part of a large group of people that fought to have him. Get him off death row, and luckily he's still alive today. But I mean, I haven't been able to focus as much on singular issues. Doing Redacted Tonight has kind of forced me to take a wide angle view. But and you know, some of my stand-up was like that for years and still is. So but there's definitely issues that keep coming back around because they are the center of the evil, such as money in politics. TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, is a very large one that I've been talking about for 4 years. And then it was hilarious because CNN and the other media, they suddenly realized, as if out of the blue, that this thing existed about a month ago. You know, I've been doing videos on it for 3 years about, basically, it's, for those who haven't heard of it, it's a corporate takeover. It really is creating kind of a corporate world government in a lot of sense and a lot of ways. And they're getting ready to slam it through Congress. And our 3 years ago, I was doing videos on it, and now, a month ago, CNN acted like, what is this? What is this new trade deal? Oh, let's talk about it.
Yeah, I saw you all over social media, man, when they picked it up, and you've been the only one. I mean, you're also where I found out about it in detail. I shared your video. Heck, it inspired me to just tell my people close to me, I mean, that was huge, you doing that, man. I mean, it really is. Could you explain a little bit to the listeners and kind of your view of what it is? I know a global takeover, but corporate takeover.
Yeah. It's trade deals in general, and you can, learn this from much smarter people than me, such as Chomsky or Hedges. But trade deals in general are designed to minimize, quote unquote, the risk of democracy for corporations. Corporations hate democracy because democracy can put them in a position where they want something, they want profit, and if people in a town say, hey, we know it's profitable for you to pollute our water, but we're not cool with that. We don't want our kids dying of cancer. And corporations don't like that. That gets in their way. That stops them from making profit. Just look at the cigarettes and how they put misinformation about cigarettes killing people for so many years. Just look at the oil companies. It's just coming out now that they've been funding a lot of this climate change denial. I mean, people always suspected it, but it's coming out now how much money they've put into that shit. And so they don't like democracy. So in order to stop that, they used, quote unquote, trade deals. Now, people hear the word trade deals and they think, oh, I don't care about trade. Trade deals a euphemism. 70% or more of this document, thousands and thousands of page document, is not about trade. It's about all kinds of things: patent rights, net neutrality, all kinds of laws, whether a country can decide their own water rights or whether a corporation can sue them for not letting the corporation pollute enough. So a corporation in fucking Australia, for example, decides that they want to pollute more in our country and they're not allowed to because of our laws. They then sue at an international tribunal of corporate judges. Nothing to do with America, international. And those corporate judges say, oh yeah, you got to let them pollute. And so it completely gives up our power as a nation to make our own laws, our power as states to make our own laws. And there's lawmakers who have said this. Representative Alan Grayson is one of them. Bernie Sanders is another. And people have been ignoring this for a long time now, and it's in its final stages. And here's the thing: if you look at the last major trade deal we did, NAFTA, people are calling this one NAFTA on steroids. NAFTA lost millions of jobs for America, pushed down wage prices. Wages have stayed completely the same over the past 30 years, I guess. And it's terrible for workers. It's all terrible for workers. Great for corporations, because corporations do very well. Same with the stock market. Corporations do very well when workers are struggling, because you don't have the power as a worker to tell them what you want. You can't demand insurance. You can't demand better wages. That's great for them. So corporations are always doing great when they can run to the cheapest labor, which is what this allows them to do. They can go to the country that has the cheapest labor. And this is a full-on race to the bottom, as they call it. And basically the politicians who are for this are jumping up and down going, hey, we can win this race.
Oh my. If that doesn't motivate somebody to get out and start speaking about the Trade Pacific Partnership deal, I don't know what is, people. I mean, this is serious shit.
And it comes down to money in politics, because these politicians, as Congress and everything, they wouldn't pass these things. They wouldn't be for these things if they didn't have their corporate backers telling them what to do. But but really, it starts before that. These people are in elected office because a corporation got behind them and said, this guy likes corporations, or he likes ours, and he's going to help us in Congress. So most of these people, it's not that they suddenly changed because they saw a bag of money out front their door. Most of them are only in office because they were already given corporate handies under the table.
And then they come out richer than they were even before they went in.
Yeah, over half of Congress is millionaires. Bernie Sanders, I believe, is the only non-millionaire running for president in the two-party ridiculous system. Of course, there's third-party candidates that are great, like Jill Stein, but you're not going to hear much about that from the media. And for those who want to see our media in all of its glory, watch how it undermines a candidate that it doesn't like, a non-corporate candidate. And look, I have plenty of issues about with Bernie Sanders. I'm not acting like he's the fucking messiah, but the corporate America does not like Bernie Sanders. Wall Street does not like Bernie Sanders. He doesn't take super PAC money, so he's not on their payroll, and they fucking hate him. And for a while, they were just kind of entertaining it like, oh, look, isn't that interesting? But now it's getting serious, all right? Now it's getting to a point where he could legitimately beat Hillary Clinton, and it's scaring the fuck out of them. And you watch our media, so you have this last presidential debate, which all the polls, CNN's own polls that they showed on their website, said Bernie Sanders won 85 or 83% to 12%. So Bernie Sanders, by the online poll, pummeled Hillary Clinton, not even close, 80% to 12%. But then every article on CNN, every commentator says Hillary won. So how is it that these fucking elite mainstream media goons can say Hillary won over and over again while Bernie is winning every poll, every Twitter poll, he's winning the fundraising in terms of number of people giving. He's not winning in terms of corporate massive donations, but and you watch the media conglomerates say, hey, it's time to get rid of this candidate. We are going to lie blatantly to you in order to make sure this candidate stops winning. And now most of America probably believes Hillary won the debate because they've seen CNN ranting and raving, and not just CNN, but MSNBC and PBS. I saw doing it, and saying Hillary won this debate. Yeah, and Fox is going after Bernie too.
Yeah, it seems like all Fox was doing that.
You know, and they start using all these terms. Oh, he's wild-eyed. He didn't look presidential, and you're like, did you hear a fucking word he said? Or you just want to, make fun of his hairstyle?
Yeah, with all that being said, crazy echo. Is that you?
I don't have an echo.
All right, it's just my crazy equipment.
Might be in your head.
Been there for a while. Now, with all that being said, what's your view on, nationally and globally? I mean, how do you see it, through the eyes of the lead camp? What do you see in the future? Do you see the state of us now, kind of a national and global view?
Well, in the small-minded view, I think that America is losing our empire because we don't have slavery anymore. Corporations are jumping ship and go. They have no national identity. A corporation doesn't. They go wherever it's cheapest. Google has, at least they were based in Ireland because they got a huge tax break there. So they're going to go wherever it's cheapest. So America's losing our empire, and now we're trying to solidify global economies with things like TPP and try and give us a leg up in holding on to an empire. But that's the small-minded view, and it's all of that's true. But to look at the bigger picture, we as a species are quickly destroying the planet we're able to live on. It's dying more quickly every minute. We're in the middle of a mass extinction. Over 50% of mammals have died over the past something like 40 years, or maybe it's 40% over 50 years. Can't remember, but it's a mass extinction, and we are eliminating our ability to continue to live on this planet quickly, very quickly. And all this small-minded stuff it's nothing. It's bickering. It's chatter. It's are we gonna let an immigrant in? Is Kim Davis allowed to sign a marriage license and all that shit? I mean, look, I want gay people to get married. Absolutely. What a fucking joke. Of course they should be getting married. But we should be looking at the big picture. And this planet is dying, and we're gonna either we go one way and drastically change the way things work, drastically change our economy, think about things like a resource-based economy or some other system that is outside of the paradigm that we're used to, and we find a way to live sustainably on this planet, or this planet will be unlivable in 50 years or whatever, 100 years, probably 50 years till things get really ugly, and then maybe 100 till it's a fucking catastrophe. But so in the bigger picture, it's like, what are we fucking talking about? like to sit here with this two-party system, both of which are living inside a very small box of thought and never get outside of it, never see anything. Nothing's allowed on the mainstream airwaves that that thinks even slightly outside of this little paradigm. And luckily, it does seem like I was saying earlier, it does seem like people are waking up. People are looking outside of that paradigm. People are realizing that our media is a joke, and they're growing, and they're getting it from places like your show and my show, Redacted Tonight, and even though it's comedy, it luckily opens people up to a lot of new issues, and people are just looking outside of the main sources, and I think that's going to keep growing. I hope.
I do. I hope we do it in time, man. I have a 15-year-old daughter, and I worry sometimes about looking back and going, them looking at you going, what the fuck did you do? Why didn't you do anything?
My dad already does that. He's really kind of hates his generation, because he said we fucked it all up, and now we're passing it off to you guys, and it's really truly fucked. And then our generation is going to say the same thing 30 years from now if we don't fucking turn around.
Yeah, and I know you got to run, man. So with the last question, I guess, with all this stuff being said, and what's your life philosophy and what drives you daily?
Well, I'd say two things drive me daily. When people ask me why I don't get burnt out, part of it is because I luckily get to do comedy, so I don't have to just sit here and be serious all day. I get to have some fun with it. So I think that helps. So I definitely, I don't recommend people spend their whole day just fuming about this shit. You got to find some kind of release. You got to, at least go masturbate or something. But get some of the anger out. But I'd say two things keep me going. One is that I think small acts do make a difference. Small acts can change the world. And actually, ironically, tonight, the episode that'll air tonight, by the way, all my episodes are also on YouTube. So anybody can go to youtube.com/redactedtonight or leecamp.net and watch this stuff. But the episode that airs tonight, I open with a thing about how small acts led to all the great change we think about in the world, the biggest movements you can imagine, Gandhi getting freedom for India and Martin Luther King getting civil rights, and all this stuff started very small. The Boston Tea Party was about tea taxes. All of it starts very small. And so almost always, maybe there's, there's some rare instances where someone said, yeah, I'm going to fucking change the world, and just started at the top. But in most instances, things start small. So small acts really do make a difference. You mentioned that death penalty thing earlier. That made me realize that, I was part of a very small group. It wasn't even a national issue, people talking about this guy. And the fact that just a handful of people could save a guy's life on death row really impacted me and made me realize that small acts can be huge acts. And so I think that's part of what keeps me going. And the other half is here's the more cynical reason that I keep fighting, as I like to say on my show, is that as Chris Hedges said, I don't fight fascism because I think I will win. I fight fascism because it's fascism. What are you going to do? Yeah. Of course you're going to fight it. So what do you want to not go down swinging? Someone punching you in the face? You're just going to be like, oh, all right, let him punch. No, I don't care if the guy's 7 feet tall, 900 pounds. I'm going to fucking take some swings. I had a little friend when I was in college, and he was about to get his ass kicked by a guy who was about 6'5". This guy's 5'4". And the 5'4" guy said to the guy, he goes, listen, you're going to win this fight, but I'm going to take out a couple of teeth. And the guy backed down because he didn't want to lose a couple of teeth. It's like,
I feel like that's what,
at least throw a punch.
You got to. And I feel like, man, that's what your show screams to me. That's what I'm trying to scream at the Cognitive Rampage, is maybe not just wake up, but, like you will say, keep fighting, throw a fucking punch, do something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lee, man, I know you got to run, brother. I thank you so much for coming on the Rampage, man.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. I appreciate what you do. And if people want to check out my stuff, like I said, it's leecamp.net. We also tape with a live audience here in Washington, D.C. Anybody can come for free. It's you can get the info at leecamp.net, but the email, the address you need to email is redactedtix, T-I-X, @gmail.com. That's also where you can find out about our New York show. We're coming this first time we've ever done this. We're doing a big New York live show, live stand-up comedy at Caroline's Comedy Club, November 20th. So, and it's free. It's free, free booze and free tickets. So if anyone wants to come to that, just email redactedticks@gmail.com, or you can get all that info at leecamp.net.
Sweet. Please look up Lee Camp. I love this guy, man. Friends now I see on an activist level, man. Thank you for everything that you do. Keep fighting, as you say. I love that. It's hard not to steal that shit, man.
Thanks, man. Keep fighting yourself.
Yeah, I'll keep swinging, man. But I appreciate it. Maybe I can shoot up to DC, man. I'd love to watch a live show, man. That'd be cool.
That'd be great. We have a tiny little we're no daily show. We have a tiny little audience. It's not like 200 people, and we all grab drinks afterwards at a bar. So it's a great hang. So.
Shit, I'm gonna have to come up to DC, man.
Absolutely.
Lee, thank you, man. I'll be watching tonight as always. Everybody tune in. Redacted Tonight on YouTube, 8 o'clock, right?
Well, yeah, they can find it all on YouTube, but it airs live at 8 p.m. Eastern on RTAmerica is the TV channel. If you don't have that on your TV, then you can live stream it. You just watch it online at 8 p.m. If you Google RTAmerica live stream, you'll find that link.
Beautiful, man. Thanks again, Lee, and keep swinging, brother. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Take care, man.
All right, later.